Hi, welcome to 3Rail Steve, and in this video we'll be making some 3Rail track. Okay, so we're going to do some soldering. I've just bought these little clamps, so I'm going to see, so I have this theory that when you solder these things up, because you've got brass, you're quite likely to remelt this bit in the middle, which is not great. So find a clamp that's big enough to reach across. That won't do the job. Clamp it up. Too much, just enough to stop it from moving. So I'm just going to put, just going to tin this bit up here. So I need some flux. Mounting nicely. I've already warmed my soldering iron up. Now, I know a lot of people don't, but I like to wear one of these things when I'm doing this because it does, especially with flux, it does give off some fairly noxious fumes. I mean, you can see that heat's going all the way through because the flux on the other side is melting as well. So, yeah, it's got something a bit aware of, really. I'm not the world's best person at soldering. My hands aren't particularly steady, and but I still managed to actually make things that work. So I guess the trick is not to put on too much solder. It's just enough to actually stick the rail to the track to the sleepers. I can feel that moving. Just leave it for a second just to oops. So it's properly set. So it's best just to leave it a little bit extra longer than you think it's going to be. and then we'll see if this is still attached. It might not be. We never know. Okay, let's just peel that off. Pull that out of there. Check it. So check it with. So I can't find one of my tools. Where is that? So, feels quite solid. Bumpy. Yeah, that's okay. Right, so I'm going to do these ones down here now as well. I've got reclamping that as well. This is not flat, not very flat. I think if I just, well, it's still hot, flatten it down a bit more, that'll be alright. Yeah, that's not too bad. Yeah, it's okay, that's fine. Okay, I'll get two there, do this side. I don't think that's going anywhere. Right. what that is. Yeah. Oh, right, so as I was saying, these bits here, not so much of a problem. We could always just file them flat again with the rotary tool once the weld is fixed. But these bits here, you don't really want the soldering moving across into this area, because that's where the blades will be actually attached to a tie bar. And when you're actually soldering it up, there's always a risk that you end up soldering the actual blades to the stock row, and then of course they don't move, which would be a bit of a problem. So we're trying to avoid doing that if we possibly can. It does happen. But let's get this going again in the opposite direction. This one as well. So that one. Quickly do that. Hope it doesn't move. Lovely. So there, we have it nicely soldered. So, okay, I'm going to stick the rail back on. So, I'm just waiting for my soldering iron to warm up again. So I'm going to put all this back together and line it up, and then we'll be doing some soldering again. desk is a little bit crowded. Right, that looks reasonably okay. So, let's see if we can actually clamp it all back up together again. I'm not sure that will reach, so let's use this one. Just going to get my soldering iron cable out of the way so it doesn't go anywhere. So, I want to get all that basically safely down. Oops. So let's have a look at this. Maybe this one off again. Make sure it's still in the right place. That looks good. Try and keep all this together. The one bit I should have put some solder on is this bit in the middle, but I think we can just get away with soldering it from the side probably. So we've still got solder there, that will hold it nice and straight, I hope. So this is important that you get all this clamped up nice and accurately. Right, so that should protect this bit in the middle and stop it from moving. Now the only other spot is a little bit wrong is over here, and I don't think I can actually get my clamp across to there. So what I'll do, I'll solder there first, just to get it in the correct position. So if you want to have a look at my mask, there it is. It's got an eBay, it's got a couple of different filters in there, and it screens out most stuff. What I think about it, yeah, that hasn't taken, but that's okay. Just going to take this blade off so I don't accidentally solder it, because that would not be good. Got a bit more flux on there so it's flowing well. Let's put some on this side as well. I don't think that rail is particularly vertical, so we can just hold it in place with these pliers and we can keep it in a better position. Nicely. So on to the next one. Right, so we'll do these next. It's lined up, they look good. Okay, so that's one side done. Just I'll take this clamp off first, I think. Right, so we're going to put the blades out of the way somewhere. So I'll try and keep them in the arrangement that they actually should be in. So I'll just pull this one off. So we know they're pointing this direction and the joiners are that way, so when we put them on, they'll go on the same way. Right, so I'll take that clamp off as well and have a quick look, see what we've done, make sure everything's still lined up. Right, so just let you stuck on it. So looking down the track, it's all nice and perpendicular, which is kind of what you want. You definitely, if anything, if it does go a little bit out of line, you don't want it leaning in. If it leans away slightly, well, it's kind of not the end of the world, it still work, but you definitely don't want it leaning in. Right, so we're going to clamp it up from the opposite side. Make sure nothing is shifted. Good. I might actually just try clamping it all the way through the table this time if I've got enough space. Stop it from sliding off like it needed last time. Oh, that's just about big enough. That's quite handy. Our business. But as we're doing this bit down here, I guess that'll be fine. So really all you're trying to do is the solder that you've already put on, you're just trying to melt it so it binds with the track. The extra solder you put on really is just to help the soldering iron sort of heat it up. It doesn't really do that much, it just sort of puddles over here somewhere, but that doesn't matter because we're going to paint it. You can always grind it off anyway. And should, any luck, be reasonably strong. I think it's solid, it's not going anywhere. There we go on this side. That's good and solid in there. Let's back. Finished. Right, yeah, we had a bit of a battery failure, so I've got on and done some more soldering. So I've soldered in the check rails as well, and all this has been soldered up. And yeah, we've also added some sleepers in, extra sleepers. So they're either made out of this 2mm cork or bits of the plastic sleepers. I'm not going to actually glue them down yet because I still have a bit of soldering left to do to get the switch blades back into position. So we'll pop those back in. Let's get this one first. That's better. There we go, that lines up. Yeah, there we go. They all line up beautifully now. This is exactly what I want to see. That is further back now because accommodate that and that. So yeah, that's all nice. The bar, right, it needs to run through there a bit more easily than that. Actually, has to slide. So I'll try it the other way up. See if that's any better. Yeah, that's much nicer. That slides beautifully. Right, okay, that's good. Right, so I'm not going to put any flux on these because, sorry, I'm going to put flux on, but I'm not going to pre-solder it because I don't want to solder it to the stock rail. So I'm going to start with this one. Now it makes more sense to actually solder it against the stock rail to get the shape of the blade in contact, if you like. So we'll give it a go. It can be a bit hit or miss this, it can be quite frustrating actually. I think I need my mask. Right. Probably need a better pair of glasses than that, but I'll manage with these. So a blur. That's better. Right. Okay, some solder to flux this, not too much, just a bit in the middle really, and then maybe just bring it over slowly to the edge. And that. Right. Get rid of that. And then my glasses. Put these on. I haven't actually seen them. It's handy. Okay, I don't really want that to move around too much, but we'll just see how it goes. So, kind of just want it to catch. Get rid of those. Yeah, that looks good. Oh, a little bit toasty. Right, so I'm going to move this across now. It needs to be across enough so the vehicles will go through it without catching. Right, just have a little look at it. Sure it kind of works. That's very smooth. No problems with that. Right, okay, I'll turn it round. Let's do the same on the other side. So again, that flux is probably dried a little bit. Just flux it from the middle. Yeah, and then just spread it into the gap. That was a bit too much really, but hopefully we'll get away with that. So, I need my point to be there. Flat. And level. At some point I'm going to have to take my finger away because it'll probably get a bit toasty. Too much. Yeah, that's enough. Oh, shit. That's it. Should be enough to hold it, I hope. Oh, we'll see. Hopefully I haven't soldered it. Oh, no, it didn't catch. Sometimes they do, and sometimes rather irritatingly, they don't. That's the other side. It's a bit more awkward, but I can actually hold the blade in position with my finger far enough away so I don't burn myself. I didn't Okay, I'm not convinced. But it's working. Still quite toasty. Let that cool down a little bit. There's a little bit in the wall. In the other direction. There we go. That seems to be working absolutely fine. Right. I won't show you the next steps of the video because I think you can work this out from this piece that I've done earlier. Remember I was talking about using double O gauge set track? Well, for third rail I use N gauge track because it's got a thinner profile, and it kind of, except around points where you want to sort of lift it up a little bit, on normal straight rail or curved rail you want it slightly below the level of the track, but of course on points you're trying to lift this collector shoe over these wing rails. So the sort of this collector shoe is picking up from here, but it's also keeping the collector shoe away from the other live rails, and also stopping it from catching on raised rails. So it's raised, it's at least the level of the track, if not slightly above the level of the track, but normally you have it sort of like below the track. And all you do, if I look underneath this, I won't show you the process because it's a bit boring and tedious, is you attach this to some nice piece of plywood, and this is how you're actually building your track up. If I show you this other piece as well, you can see how it all sort of links up. So these pieces, I won't link them together now because it's a bit tricky, but they do link together. It might be like that. Yeah, it's like that. So that piece goes into there. I'll get that one to come across. That fish plate's a little bit out. So yeah, so you get the general picture. So you can build your layer up in sort of in modules, in effect. Which means if you mess one bit of it up, it's not like the end of the world. You can build it again. You haven't got, you know, the aggro of having to rip all the track up, and just take it out and move it on, or repair it, or whatever you need to do. So the system I'm using, basically some thickish plywood. Obviously it's all got to be the same thickness, and I just get some screws, screw them in. I put some tin the top of them with the solder, and then I just attach these N gauge rails to carry the opposite polarity current. And if you can watch this as it goes over, you can see kind of the point of it is. It just runs, actually that is quite high there. But anyway, yeah, it does work. Because I've tried the locomotive on it and it does go over it actually. Although I do think that third wheel is a bit on the high side. I might change that slightly. Doesn't seem to like it so much. So yeah, so that's how you kind of finish it off, and then obviously when you've done all that and you've glued all the sleepers down, you can ballast it and build it into your layout, and that is basically it. Okay, so I thought we would just do a test to make sure it all works. This is obviously the piece of track that I did earlier. I showed at the beginning of the video. And we're going to use this rather lovely old locomotive, which is probably built in the 1950s. It's a 264. See that? It's made out of die-cast metal by Hornby Jublo, and yeah, we'll see how it performs. Okay, so it's in that direction and the other direction. Switch the points. Oops. Helps if you've got the get on the track properly, always helps. I'm convinced it is. I think it is, yep. Oh, nearly did the crawl. Well, there we go. It works pretty well, considering that locomotive is probably about 65 years old, and the Duet controller is from the 1970s, so that's probably 40 years old or so, or maybe 50 years old. Not bad really, but obviously with nice modern nickel silver track, it all works pretty well. Thank you for watching the video, hope it was informative, and I will see you on the next one.